after a 10-year hiatus. It was 1 year ago that the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Championship Series made its return to Sacramento. It's one of the most coveted trophies on the tour, and last year did not fail to excite. The separation between first and second, just 0.04 of a second. It's back, and it's on, and it's definitely one of the races you want to add to the mantle. Sit back. This is going to be a wild one. It's time to go racing. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cal Expo. We are so excited to get going here one more time. This is the Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Nationals presented by Speedco. We're at the Cal Expo, Sacramento, California, and we're glad to have those guys with us, I promise you. Ken Stout and Chris Carr in the booth. Kenny Sargent will cover the action on the grounds, but when I mentioned that the separation between first and second in that opening tease was 0.04 of a second, well, the guy that was in second is sitting right beside me, Chris Carr. This is an exciting place, to say the least, as we take a look at the points that are very close, by the way.
It's always been exciting to race under the lights here at the Cal Expo State Fairgrounds. Nothing better than going 130 mile an hour under the lights.
Well, guys, what if I told you the beginning of the year we're going to have 6 races, 6 different winners through 4 different disciplines? Well, that's what we got. Your points leader to my left, Jared Mees. It's got to be a surprise for you that there's so much parity in racing, but it's good for the fans, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. You know, 6 different winners just goes to showcase all the talent in our sport. I mean, I want to be the first 2-time winner this year, but you never know, a 7th could just pop in there.
This is the Sac Mile, the legend of Sac Mile. When you hear, all right, we're going to be rolling out there, of course, you say, wow, we're there, we're back.
Definitely. It's great to come back out to the Sacramento Mile, a place that I've looked at all my heroes growing up, Scotty Parker, Will Davis, you know, to come back to race a race that they've come and raced for years, and to have the fan base we've had last year. This is a really good place to showcase our sport, and it's great to be here.
Guys, Jared Mees, of course, your points leader, Jake Johnson chasing him. But again, as I said, this is the Sac Mile. Throw everything out the door, everything out the window, because it comes down to this thing, nighttime racing, and this guy just might be standing back up on this podium, right?
That's what it's looking for.
I'll tell you right now, he will have no shortage of competition here tonight. We look forward to this race without a doubt. Speaking of the race, let's talk about what's going to happen here. It's going to be busy.
With 3 expert heat races, top 4 to the final, but the top 2 make it to the dash for cash for bonus points. The balance into semis, and we'll line them up for 25 laps, top 18 guys. So let's see what we got for these guys tonight.
We'll also bring you highlights of the Pro Main as well, but right now let's start off with highlights from the heat races. Right off the bat, you can see these guys will carry some big speed. Now keep in mind, this track will change drastically from the late afternoon to the evening, what they'll see later on, but this place is huge.
Jake Johnson out to a great start in this first heat race with the veteran making a return to racing, Dan Ingram, 47 years old, from Claremont, Indiana, running second early on. Good start to the evening for him, and 62 of Luke Goff from Australia in third. But it looks like Johnson's just stretching it on him here.
Yeah, and as you watch Jake Johnson there stretch it out, keep in mind he is on a Harley Davidson, and there's a lot of talk about the Kawasaki's and that big power, how they will do well here this year.
Well, the track here in Sacramento is a little tighter cornered than it was in Springfield in our last show. Long straightaways equals you need a good horse to run it, and the number 1 of Johnson has certainly shown he's got a good package under him tonight.
So heat race winner in number 1, Jake Johnson, followed by Luke Goff, then Sammy Halbert and Steve Murray. Those 4 transfer into the final. Keep in mind the top 2, though, go to the dash for cash, which, as you mentioned before, pays extra points, and that is so critical when you're chasing that championship. Here's highlights from heat race number 2.
The 44 of Brandon Robinson on the Werner Springsteen Kawasaki out front in the heat race. I think this is probably the first time he's led a heat race in his career out front on a bike that runs real well. The 33E of Mikey Avila, rookie, takes the point going into turn 3, and sets up a two-man battle at the front with Jared Mees, our point leader, in third. Jared's certainly going to want to get to the front of these two guys, knowing that Halbert in the first heat race is not in the dash. It's an opportunity to stretch the gap in the points prior to the main event.
Bill and Jay have been working on that Kawasaki very hard. They've got about 5 years invested into that, and maybe the tighter turn will lead to the horsepower bike for the Kawasaki coming off the turn to give them a small advantage. But right here, Brandon definitely holding his own. Such a great story after 2009 when they thought he might not ever walk again after a devastating crash in Indianapolis. But needless to say, not only does he walk, but he rides extremely well.
Mees gets in a little hot into turn 3, moving Avila off the groove, sets up a draft possibility at the line.
Wow. That's what we love right there, man.
And the thing we're noticing, the Kawasaki's are running really good in a straight line. The Hardys will get through the corners, the Cowies are running down the straights.
There it is, Robinson and Mees right to the dash for cash. And Mikey doing a good job after a year ago. He was in the pro event. He's come out here. That's a real solid heat for him. He'll go right into the final. Here is heat race number 3. Highlights once again.
The 17 of on a Ducati, Henry Wiles on the bottom. Not a great start from the inside. Out front, we have the 80 of Stevie Bonzi, and 91 on a Triumph rookie, Mikey Martin from nearby Acampo, California. This is a home race for him, and he's doing the home crowd really proud here in his heat race, running solid second place.
Yeah, I said Mikey before, and I was talking about Avila, and it was Avila and Mikey Martin who put on a great show in the pro singles here a season ago. It was Mikey Martin who actually took the win. Now both of those guys stepping up here into the Grand National Championship Series.
And we see the 42 of Brian Smith on the Crosley Radio Kawasaki. This bike is a bullet. This has been the most talked about motorcycle in AMA Grand National Racing this year. The thing is a bullet in a straight line. Gets through the corners pretty good, and he comes from well behind to run down Bonzi and take the win in heat number 3.
He does a great job showing some muscle here. The Kawasaki's are flexing a bit. Smith and Bonzi to the dash for cash. Wiles and Martin will make it to the finals. Everybody else in the semis. Results courtesy of E3.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Made in America, sold to the world. By E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn. And by General Tire. Unleash the fury. The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs, born to burn.
Welcome back to the Cal Expo here with the Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Grand National Series presented by Speedco. We have a legend in the sport. He's down with Kenny Sargent. His name is Jim Rice, but you probably remember him from something much different. It was an awesome movie.
Well, you mentioned 3 words, On Any Sunday. This guy, Jim Rice. It's synonymous with the movie On Any Sunday. Then, of course, what it says on his shirt, BSA. We're here at the Sac Mile, and you do have some good stories here running at the Sac Mile. And back in the day when you were running, was it something you look forward to? If, man, we get to come out to the West Coast and run the Sac Mile?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, miles, everybody looked forward to. And especially, you know, like the Sacramento Mile, that was sort of like the premier mile on the circuit, and everybody wanted to win that.
the mile track at Sacramento, California. This is where the #1 plate will be decided. A $12,000 purse, but more important to Dick Mann, Dave Aldana, Gene Romero, and Jim Rice, 101 points. Enough to make any of them #1. Jim Rice, number 24, playing it cool in the final heat and transferring. After the finish at 120 miles an hour, Jim Rice was getting out of the ambulance and was going to try and ride the race.
Jim Rice walking out, and he'll be back in action.
In a lot of pain with a bandana covering his broken nose, Jim quietly took his place on the line with the rest. Gene, for Rice, Aldana, and Mann, it was a very disappointing day. Rice was lucky to be alive.
It's the Sac Mile, and every year when you saw it's on the schedule, you knew we were going back there. It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I just loved the miles, I'll tell you. And Sacramento Mile, even though it didn't go well, I still have a lot of good memories from other races there. And like I say, you know, it was a pivotal time in my life. I did the best I could, and everything turned out fine, though.
And you're a big part of the history at this place as well, Chris.
Well, you know, watching that clip of Jim Rice, I grew up watching on Indy Sunday. It came out in 1971, and that was my version of Sesame Street growing up.
And fans, if you think it didn't get to him, I can tell you right now, he's already kicked his shoes off in here. He's putting the boots on. I think he's ready to get back on board one of these things. But let's talk about here as well, the battle for first place. Jake Johnson, Jared Mees just going at it.
That dash for cash, you know, this is two guys at the top of the point standings. The 1 point difference between first and second could mean the difference in the championship. Having tied Scott Parker in the past, in points here in Sacramento, every point counts for winning a title, and Jake and Jared have a good run going here, but that Kawasaki lurking in third, wanting to get up in there and spoil the Harley-Davidson party.
15 points between Jared Mees and Jake Johnson coming into this event. There's 23 points available at one of these events. Needless to say, nobody's going to capture all of those at one snap here this weekend, but point being is this thing is not over by any stretch of the imagination. So Jake Johnson will pad that a little bit. He closes that gap a little bit to Jared Mees and then puts $1,000 in his pocket to boot.
Well, it's always good to have a little travel money going across country. As we get ready for semifinal number one, 31J on the outside there, Dan Ingram wanting to get in the final. He was running well in his heat race. Faded back a little bit. I think he's working out a little bit of the rust, and he's got himself mixed up with the rookie of Briar Bauman, 10Z on the front row. We have Chad Coase, 49, Jethro Halbert, the older brother of Sammy Halbert, and 27, Rob Pearson. There's no slouches in this, and the top three are going to go to the final with Halbert out front and Ingram in second. I think he's going to want to just tow around with him and get himself a nice spot into the final.
And, you know, certainly things have advanced a lot since Jim Rice was on board one of these things. But if you take a look at them, they don't look drastically different. In fact, the leathers and stuff can look almost identical. It is very, very cool what this sport brings with it in terms of history.
Well, visually, this sport hasn't changed a whole lot throughout the years. The number plates might have a little bit different style of numbers on them, maybe a few brighter colors as we see the bright yellow of Dan Ingram standing out. This sport has stayed very true to its roots in a lot of ways. The tires that they're running, the Goodyear Spec tire, has not evolved as much as you would see, say, road race tires. And part of the reason is to kind of keep the speeds down. When you're running state fairgrounds tracks like this, you know, they're not going to extend the walls out and put gravel traps in. They've come a long way with the Road Racing World Action Fund and getting air fence into the sport to help maybe not have an incident like Jim Rice did on any Sunday. As we see the two leaders swapping back and forth in this semi. It's a great race. But that's the allure of many of the people, the diehards of flat track, and why it's still around. It's stayed very consistent throughout the year.
The top two checking out, but keep in mind it's the top three that advance, so keep your eyes on that battle for third place as well, because it is critical and is the transfer position. Needless to say, we had that shot coming into this event as well. As the sun is sinking, things will start changing both visually and in terms of grip on this track.
Well, this is a tough time of day, especially if you're Dan Ingram at 47 years old. I know what it's like at 45. Your eyes aren't quite as sharp as they normally are, so the lights haven't really fully kicked in, and the sun is just now setting. It's sometimes difficult to pick out the line, but I think as close as he's running to Jethro Halbert up front, he's got a good rabbit to follow at the moment.
Ingram really tucked in, and now he takes a look down on the inside. Can he get underneath him? No, it's not going to happen. He backs off and falls back in line again.
Well, you know, it's probably a good thing. It allows him to line up for potential draft pass down the front stretch. I mean, the front straightaway drafting here is more important than the back straightaway, because that's where the finish line is, as he takes the lead before the start finish. So that was a good setup. He knows where he needs to be in order to maintain a top position in this semifinal.
And look at Pearson has come from back in the pack. I mean, he really closed the gap on these two leaders. You need to be smart here, though, as well. I mean, you got that transfer position. Is it important to keep battling for the lead here?
Well, in this case, I don't think it's all that important what position you finish. They're all going to the third row in the final. It's just a matter of where you're going to line up. Ideally, it's a good way to kind of test how things are working, and if you can move forward in the race in the main event, what you learn here will apply. But I have a feeling Pearson hasn't looked behind to see what kind of gap he has. He's going to want to try and not only defend the position, but improve on it if possible.
Last lap, white flag is out in the first semifinal of two, and yeah, look at him, he takes a look. It's not going to happen, though. These guys are battling at the front like it's a main event, and what really looks close to us is probably just second nature to them. Nice save there by the 31 once again, just hanging on there as that bike's moving around a bit, but Ingram will hang on to second here, I think.
Fighting for traction, doesn't quite get a good drive off four, comes up a little short on Halbert at the line. But a great run for all three guys, comfortably into the final. You know, that was an 8-lapper there. 25 lappers going to be a lot different.
Yeah, that's just a small taste of things to come as we take a look at the results from semi number one, courtesy of E3 Spark Plugs. And keep in mind the top three making it in to the final.
Jethro, it wasn't easy, but you pulled it off.
Yeah, that was a good battle there. That old guy, we were drafting each other back and forth, you know. He got into me coming into three, and I almost went down. That was pretty scary. And he kind of stuffing each other on a mile. It's not too cool. We kind of hit elbows there, and I got a little out of control, but I just knew I wanted to beat that old guy.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Speedco Truck Lube and Tires. Built for speed, staffed for quality, delivering world-class value.
Semifinal number one is in the books here at the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Series, presented by Speedco. Semifinal number two coming up here in the expert class.
Be very interesting to see the number 12 Brad Baker filling in for the injured Kenny Coolbeth on the factory Harley Davidson. Having a rough go of it so far. Not a direct transfer to the final, but he's certainly getting himself some experience on the factory Harley tonight.
And he was here a year ago on the Ducati. How much different is that bike?
Well, the Harley-Davidson is certainly going to get through the corners much better than the Ducati. The Ducati, much like the Kawasaki, is very, very fast in a straight line, but getting a hold of the ground has been its weakness over the last 3 years that they've run that bike with the Lloyd Brothers Motorsports team. As we see young rider Jeff Carver drafting by the factory Harley into turn 3. Got a couple young guys. These guys were in the pro class a couple years ago, battling out tooth and nail, elbow to elbow, week in and week out. And here they are fighting for position in the semifinal to get into tonight's 25-lap feature.
And now that you have no stake in the game, I'm going to ask you the question. My guess is you can answer freely, but what is it about the Harleys that help them rotate a little better than the other bikes?
I think the internal engine mass allow them to grab a hold of the ground and allow them to corner. And to be frankly honest, you know, it's 40 years of R&D of guys have been working on these engines and these chassis, and they know how to make them work around dirt tracks. And it's still the winningest engine in the history of the sport. They are currently restricted in order to give the production-based engines a fighting chance. And, you know, they're still the bike of choice week in and week out.
That battle back there that is 4 deep side by side, about to go 4 wide, is for the final transfer position. First and second here. Always fun to watch the leaders, don't get me wrong, but this battle for third is just off the hook.
Well, we got the 26 of Brandon Bergen, California boy, leading that pack at the moment. This is the closest national to his hometown of Fresno. You know he wants to put it in the main event.
You know what that's like as well. This is definitely your hometown track, and what it's like, those added pressures to come out here and race in front of your fans and your family.
Well, you certainly want to, you know, make sure everybody gets their money's worth, and you want to do that more and more closer to home than you would anywhere.
Let's talk about this, because you can see him actually a little bit of throttle control there. You can see him, of course, catching the bike there, dancing with it, and then just really tuck in nice.
Well, you got to tuck in, get that left arm down as soon as you can. You know, there's no fairings on these motorcycles, so you got to reduce the amount of frontal area as best you can. And these are 2 tall kids, so they're going to try and tuck in as early as possible.
There's a look at some of the players in this battle for third that has now stretched out a little bit. It's really between 2, possibly 3 riders. As we watch them here, they close up so quickly.
Well, as we see Lawrence move up in there, and we see Higgins, 82 off the group, looked like he got sucked into the draft. A lot of times when 2 riders kind of fan out and you're the 3rd guy in line, the draft plays a big part, and sometimes you press the brake lever and it feels like it's not working anymore. And as a result, he slips off the groove and loses the gap to the battle for 3rd.
And a really thin line here, as it does look like the place takes on rubber pretty nicely.
It takes on rubber, but it's a little bit inconsistent. You know, we're running here at the end of July, so it's a really, really hot day here in Sacramento. Keeping the moisture in the dirt is a hard thing, and getting the rubber to lay down consistently on this somewhat sandy surface is difficult.
Final lap here. The 23 is out front as we watch right now. Had a good run here so far in this semifinal. Carver Jr. trying to hang on.
Well, I would certainly like to be in Baker's shoes right now. He's got about 3/4 of the straightaway to line up a draft on Carver. We'll see if he can make it happen by the line. Creeps along the side, and wow, woo! That was a tight one. Baker inches it out.
Both semifinals, I mean, end up basically the same way. Is that what we're going to see here in this final?
Well, I sure hope so. That's definitely what we want to see here at Sacramento. It's certainly the way it was a year ago here.
We're going to take a look at this finish one more time. Is there anything you can do as a leader to stop this from happening?
Well, one of the things I would do is get as close to the wall as I could and hang my handlebar over the rail, if at all possible. But the track's a little dusty up there. You run the risk of spinning it up a little bit. Really, you know, other than getting a really good drive and tucking in, he's at Baker's mercy leading off turn 4.
One thing they don't do too much is run them down deep. I would think you'd almost want to push them down to the bottom, but we just don't see that happen too much as they stay right in that groove. Packed house here at Sacramento. Here's a look at your E3 Spark Plug results from the semifinal number 2. Baker, Carver, and Lawrence all going to the main event. Standing down with our winners, Kenny Sargent.
Brad, I know you had some concerns coming out here for this, man. Are you a little bit more comfortable? What's going on? You made the main.
Yeah, you feel great. You know, after the heat race, we actually had a rocker brake and made the cam be able to slip time and sheared off a spark plug. So I was running the heat race while I'm only one cylinder, and I was having a lot of fun with Jeffrey. Me and him grew up racing together, and we feel really comfortable riding together, and made it happen for the last for the straightaway, because I know who was ever in first was going to be the person that got drafted by, and the person in second that'll win it. So,
Brad Baker, moving on.
Solid effort. He made it to the dance. That's all that really matters. When we come back, we're going to show you highlights of the pro single main event. They're always just as exciting.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Rusty's Off-Road Products, trail-tested tough.
Welcome back. The lights are on here at the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Series presented by Speedco. Pro Single Main Event. We'll show you some highlights from this and, of course, the up-and-coming riders that want to make it into the GNC Series.
Lined up on the outside on the front row, 95-pound Shayna Texter, the only female in tonight's finals.
Boy, and look at them just wagging the tail on some of those bikes as they're looking for grip off the start.
Yeah, the inside starting positions are pretty dusty. There's no rubber laid down and difficult to get going forward, but no problem for the 25A of Shayna Texter from Pennsylvania. She's a third-generation racer, being chased down by Dominic Colindres, number 66, here early in the race.
At 95 pounds, does she have a distinct advantage here?
Definitely. You know, the old theory, every 7 pounds lighter you are, over 100 miles per hour equals 1 horsepower. And with these bikes producing in the mid-60s on the horsepower numbers, I'd say she's at a distinct advantage.
She's certainly riding well. She is holding her own against the guys. You know what they say, it's all fun and games till you get beat by a girl, and she's hoping to do exactly that right here, but they're not going to give it to her.
Yeah, there's 4 guys that have something to say about that at the moment. As we have a lead change up front, the 55 of Jake Shoemaker taking the lead and putting a couple bike links on Vandeker as he slips by Shayna, as she comes under attack from Garrett Calise as well as Colindres. 1 lap to go, and wow, this is anybody's race, much like the one in Springfield.
Exactly what we were hoping for. This is what the fans come out to see as they fan out on the back straightaway once again. It's not over until they cross the stripe. Shayna working her way to the front.
She moves into second right behind Vandeker. They fanned out 4 wide. I think she's in the perfect spot to draft at the line.
She tucks in right behind him. Can she make it happen? She pulls out to the inside. Bar to bar they go, and yes, she does steal the win here. Congratulations to Shayna.
Oh, that was a great last lap for her. She kept her composure. She dropped back as far as 4th and works her way back to the front when it counted.
Even Vandeker looked over at her and said, great job. That's awesome.
Well, you know, I think the boys know that it's good to give thumbs up when the girls win.
Absolutely. You know what it is? It's about respect. And if you can run up there with those guys, you've earned it. Absolutely. Once again, our results here from E3 Spark Plugs for the Pro Singles main event.
Shayna, when you took off the helmet, did you hear the crowd then? That's such a huge win for you and your team, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, the first one was a dream come true. You know, this one was just a fairy tale. I was super nervous going into it tonight, and you know, I'm having so much fun, and you know, I lost my dad 2 years ago, and I've been racing on my own and living a dream. And you know, I definitely know he's with me at the whole time, but I really got to thank my team, DFW Honda, McElroy Packaging, Arai Helmets. There's so many great people behind me that I just can't thank them all. But you know, definitely the fans and my family for all their love and support always.
Congrats to her, and that is special, knowing, as you could tell, that her father passed a couple of years ago. So congratulations to her and that team for such a great job.
Definitely the Texters were looking over the granddaughter. She did a great job.
All right, once again, Just before we get started here on the main, let's get it down to Kenny Sargent.
Guys, we know that the front row for the main tonight is just stacked. Jake Johnson in the one spot, riding the pole. Then, of course, inside him, Brian Smith. But if you come all the way down here, Sammy Halbert. And, Sammy, you've got Jake Johnson up there on the pole. He doesn't have a win this year. Your win came at Lima, the half mile. Is there anything you can apply to that to keep up with Johnson and Smith?
Man, it's a really different style of racetrack. It takes a lot more horsepower out here on the mile. It's going to be tough for me, but we're going to pull out all the stops and see what we can do. We're going to give it my all like I always do, and you can never count me out. I'm going to give it a run. So
you know how those guys run, Smith and Johnson. Is there anything you can take from the tricks that they're going to apply and really put them inside your head to where you can at least stay close to them for the last 5 laps?
Yeah, I'm going to do everything I can to keep the wheels in line and stay close and try and draft them at the line. We'll see what happens.
Sammy Halbert going to give it a go. Hey, guys, if there's anybody that can do it on that front row, inside Johnson, that's Sammy.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Canaday Natural Pet Foods, healthy, natural nutrition for your pets.
Welcome back. We are just about to begin the main event here at the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Series presented by Speedco. The experts are lining up here, and this is going to be a big one.
25 laps. Going to need to run a consistent pace, but also got to watch out for tire wear with this hard sandy surface at the end of July. Tire wear could be an issue late in the race. You certainly don't want to go out too hard too early and burn up your Goodyears. You want to bring them up to temperature as slow as possible to make them last the 25-lap final.
We heard Kenny talk about the 6 different winners. A couple of those winners and also players in the points are not in the field here. Johnny Lewis and also Matt Weidman. Johnny Lewis 3rd in the points. Unfortunately not here. He just could not come up with funding. As we start this, of course, you can see the 10-second board down, and it is time to go racing.
Well, I don't think a whole shot is all that important, but you do want to maintain touch with the leaders if you want to have a chance to win. With the long straightaways here, you get separated early, it's hard to make that time back up, unlike Springfield.
Boy, just a great start right there. Created a little bit of separation. Unfortunately, it will not last long at this level.
Well, it looks like Jake Johnson with the outside front row is not worried about the tire wear on his XR 750 as Smith runs him down and drafts up the inside. We're seeing the straight line speed of the Kawasaki there. Sure.
What a difference in mile per hour rolling up behind him like that. That is a split-second decision on when to make the pass and when to check up to get through the turn.
And he brought Jared Mees right up with him, too, as Jared and Jake go side by side. I see it's a little more difficult for Johnson on the Harley to be able to return the favor to Smith on the Kawasaki. Not able to make that pass as easily as Smith did on the backstretch.
Keep in mind, it's Brian Smith who won this event a year ago as we watch Carver go to work here again, tucking down, doing a nice job there, sitting in the top 10 right now. What a time to work, though.
Really cool to see the intensity of his eyes as he's going down the back straightaway at 130 miles an hour.
Jake Johnson currently in second, looking back at Jared Mees. Here comes Mees. He takes a look up on the inside. The 2004 Rookie of the Year is our current points leader coming into this event.
You see Johnson slip up the inside of Smith. Smith's going to line him up down the back straightaway and hopefully return the favor. I'm sure number 9's going to want to put a rope out there and grab onto that 42 and go by himself.
Boy, excellent job. Yeah, as we were on board there for a moment, it was Jake Johnson who was making a pass for the lead as well. So these guys not afraid to go 3 wide out here. How long can you get out of that line, out of that rubber that's being laid down and maintain speed?
Well, not very far. It looks like it's about 18 inches wide through the middle of the corner as we see Smith hold on to the lead down the straightaway. You'll notice that Johnson is all over the back of Smith through the corners. That's the superiority of the XR750 Harleys. They get through the corners really well. The Kawasaki is really strong down the straightaways. When the Harleys are out front, you usually see a little bit of separation. As we see Smith get by the inside, or excuse me, Johnson coming up the inside of Smith. A lot of times he can pull away a bike link or bike link and a half as he puts a little gap on Smith through turns 3 and 4.
Again, looking back at Brian Smith, and Brian Smith, who's been riding, actually been ice racing since he was about 7 years old, joined the GNC series back in 2001, has been progressing ever since. Now has fallen back to 3rd.
Won a lot of nationals, Brian Smith has. Certainly won here a year ago riding a Harley-Davidson. He's got a bike that runs well. He's going to be in the hunt as he makes a big. That was a bold move around the outside. That was a double draft with the guardrail about 3 inches from your right elbow going into turn 3. That was a big time move.
And as we take a look at this battle a little bit deeper in the field for 7th, let's talk about what you just mentioned as we take a look at our 3 leaders once again. You said you would actually run this course, this track, with the handlebars out over the guardrail because sometimes it was prepped a little bit better out there.
Well, back in the 90s, it seemed like they rolled it in a little bit closer to the fence, and you could actually use that to your advantage if you were leading. You'd be able to hang your handlebar out over the guardrail, and if somebody wanted to draft you, well, they had to hang their hand over the guardrail too. And we saw Smith do that momentarily in his effort to pass Johnson and was successful.
Once again, taking a look at the number 9 bike of Jared Mees as the top 3 are going at it, and we're about to have some company here. Brandon Robinson having a career best run on the 44 bike. We'll get a look at him in just a moment as we take a look at this battle here for 6th as well, but Brandon Robinson is coming.
Brandon Robinson doing a great job on the Werner Springsteen Kawasaki. I don't think he's been up in this kind of territory before as he's latched on to the leaders here. Running 4th, certainly the best position he's won in a Grand National race in his career.
Koff and Mikey Martin battling for 6th place, and you know, we saw Jeff Carver a little bit earlier too, Carver Jr., who came out of one of the semifinals, so started deep here. He's having a great run as we go back up to this battle with our leaders.
You know, it's interesting, the one pulls out to go by and just can't complete the draft. The Kawasaki has some legs at the end of the stretch.
There's a look at your Speedco top 5. The race is on.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Dynamax, pure unadulterated power.
As expected, nose to tail, side-by-side racing here at the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Series presented by Speedco. We are at the Cal Expo Sacramento Mile. It is legendary, and these guys are absolutely flying, guys and gals, I should say, as Nicole Cheza is also in the field, some 130 miles per hour down the straightaway here under the lights.
As number 7, Sammy Halbert, is joining the freight train at the front. He's been riding by himself for the better part of this race. Has found himself latched on to the end of the lead group, and certainly wants to make his presence felt.
Yeah, and without Johnny Lewis here, Sammy Halbert has a great opportunity to move up here in the points. Will certainly take over third, as he was just a couple of points behind in fourth.
And certainly different for Halbert this year, as he's coming from behind in the points. He led the points for the majority of the 2011 season, only to give it up with 3 races to go to the likes of Jared Mees and Jake Johnson. So he's in uncharted waters coming from behind.
And our lead pack has grown into 5. The 44 of Brandon Robinson. What a great story there. 2009, a devastating wreck at Indianapolis. Crushed his pelvis. They didn't know if he'd ever walk again. Said it would take a year. 3 months later, he was walking, and now back on top of a bike as good as ever.
You know, kind of reminds us of those guys that did On Any Sunday film earlier in the show. These guys are tough. Their desire to race Grand National motorcycles is unparalleled. And they're going to get back out there and mix it up as soon as they can. As we see Mees finally gets a run on Jake Johnson and finds himself in second. We'll see if he can make a move to the front, as Johnson has been able to do on a couple of occasions. But that Kawasaki is really strong. If I was on a Harley today, I'd be very, very frustrated at not being able to pull out and go on by the leader.
Halbert does get around Robinson, moves up into fourth, was taking a look at third as well. They are dicey for sure. Let's get it down to Kenny for more.
Guys, watching Brian Smith run up front reminds me of a conversation I had with him earlier this afternoon. He's riding angry. He wants to win bad, and he wants to win very bad on this Kawasaki. Of course, he won here last year on the Harley-Davidson, but he wants to prove a few people right that he can win on a Kawasaki here on the Sac Mile.
Once again, you can see that battle, and so far, I've got to say, Brian's definitely got a horse in this game. He's been able to run up front for a while here. They struggle passing him.
No need to be angry running up front right now. I tell you, nobody's really given him anything to worry about. Occasionally, Johnson has gone by. Mees hasn't proven the ability to draft by the end of the straightaway, and he's sitting in the catbird seat right now. Nobody's really pushing him that hard.
Side by side in the back for sure. Halbert gets out there in the loose stuff and loses some ground.
Well, we see Halbert moved up into fourth, and there's a possibility that chasing the lead pack down, he might have burned his tire up early in the race and not quite getting the grip that he needs to continue to move forward to the front.
This battle has been going on the entire race between Brian Smith, Mees, and Jake Johnson. But Kenny, Brandon Robinson is having a career best ride.
Guys, watching the 44, Brandon Robinson running the top 5. Here's a couple of things on the guy. He's never won a main event. And 2, has never podiumed. Even bigger than that, his girlfriend, Shayna Texter, won the Pro Series race just before this. You think that's a little bit of motivation for Robinson? I think so.
Just a great battle here at the front. We'll find out if Brandon has any more. He really has not been able to get up into that 3-way mix, although Sammy Halbert has.
I would imagine that Brandon's probably being a little conservative. He's never been in this position before. We got a narrow track. He's learning by the lap as we go around here. I think he's content at the moment to get towed around and get some lessons.
Second-generation racer. His dad actually did a little bit of racing. Actually used to run a 4-wheeler and went out to a flat track race by surprise. 5 laps to go.
Well, if these guys on the Harleys have anything for Brian Smith, they're going to have to start showing it now. With 5 to go, it's like when I was racing it, the switch got flipped, and it was time to lay your best laps down and see who was going to come with you. And I'm sure Smith's doing that currently.
The top 3 again starting to check out here just a little bit. We'll find out if the last 2 can make it a 5-way battle as you take a look at your Speedco top 5.
The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by Speedco Truck Lube and Tires. Built for speed, staffed for quality, delivering world-class value. Canaday Natural Pet Foods, healthy, natural nutrition for your pets. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. The Lucas Oil AMA Flat Track Series is brought to you by
Pack Racing Springs, manufacturer of off-road suspension springs and sway bars.
Just a couple of laps left here at the finish of the Sacramento Mile here at the AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Series.
Brian Smith controlling this race from the beginning. Has only been passed a couple of times and only for a corner or so. Brian Smith able to get back by Jake Johnson each and every time. And Jared Mees running third has never led this race. As Brandon Robinson, number 44, starts to inch back forward as Halbert drops back a little ways. So it looks like our top 4 is set for a run for the podium.
Brian Smith is out front, had a really nice job, a really nice lead, I should say, going into that last set of turns. And we can see the number 1 has not been able to get past him just yet, the last couple of attempts for Jake Johnson. But do you want to be leading? We saw this before. Do you want to be out front, even if you're Brian Smith here on this last lap?
Well, nobody's proven, unless they're playing possum, nobody's proven that they can beat him to the line. All the passes have been between the finish line and turn 1. So if I was Brian Smith, I'd feel comfortable just about anywhere at the moment.
You see it right there a couple of times. Jake Johnson is taking a look, but he's really not close enough to make it work just yet.
This is the run to the checkered flag. If Jake Johnson has it in him, it's got to be now. He pulls out, comes up short.
Not going to happen. Back to back goes Brian Smith, first on the Harley, now on the Kawasaki. You talked about the big power for the Kawasaki, and it definitely played a part here.
Well, it's certainly nice to have extra horsepower. When we were running here a year ago, I kind of had that in my back pocket and came up second to Brian Smith. So he's proven that, you know, he can win on the best bike, but sometimes on not so much the best bike. So he certainly did a good job tonight.
There's a look at your results from E3 Spark Plug, and that is your winner right there. Solid effort out of that man, and as expected, these guys put on such a great show. We'll take a look at the points. As you can see, they are jostling up here just a little bit, but this will be a great run for the championship right down to the final event. It always is. GNC Series is so close. Let's get it down to Kenny Sargent. He is standing down with our winner there, and of course a very happy Brian Smith.
Brian Smith taking the Sac Mile victory for the second time in 2 years. And when I talked to you back in the pits, you were angry. You were riding angry. You wanted this win so bad on this Kawasaki to prove a few people right or wrong, depending on who they are. Replay that last lap in your head.
Oh, man, I was hoping maybe me and Jake could just get away, and or maybe me and Jared just only have one guy to worry about. And obviously there was 2 of them up there, and I don't know if there's any guys behind them. But it was just kind of turned into exactly what Jake just said, a shut-off contest into 3. And luckily I had a little bit of a wheel on him and was able to ease it in there around the outside of them without getting into each other.
It's a great team between you and Howerton. Howerton put underneath you, gave you all the power you needed.
Yeah, Ricky Howerton built this bike a couple years ago or last year, and I couldn't be happier with the way things transpired with me and him and Jeff Gordon, Skip Eakin, Bo at Crosley Radio. It's a first-class act. Can't thank them enough for giving me this opportunity.
Fellas, that's 2 Sac Mile wins in a row for BS, Brian Smith.
And he can add a win from Indianapolis at the mile there as well in 2010. I mean, this guy is good at mile tracks.
Certainly proven to be over the last 3 or 4 years the best miler in the country. Has won a lot of races, a lot of big races, including here in Sacramento in 2 years running.
You can check us out at lucasoil.com. You can also like us on Facebook and hit us up on Twitter at Lucas Oil. Hope everybody had a great time. We enjoy covering this racing. It is so exciting and always as close as you'll find in any form of motorsports on the planet. For Kenny Sargent, Chris Carr, I'm Ken Stout. Hope you enjoyed watching all the great action from the Lucas Oil AMA Pro Flat Track Grand National Championship Series.